You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
At 73, I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 65 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into the Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to get in on the show with us this morning. It's Veterans Day, so appreciate all the veterans out there. No school today, so a lot of people are sleeping in, not in their cars yet. But if you're at the house and want to dial us up, once again, 205-342-9904. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. They always make this 7 o'clock hour possible. If it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. If you want to build the fence, the deck, the pergola, or the 5-star backyard, then there is only one choice. That would obviously be Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer that is closest to you. Download the Tide 100.9 app. Put that on your smartphone. You can take us with you anywhere you go. Also, if you want to email us, our email for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Chase, another blue plate hit this weekend. I think our dad had Army. I don't even remember what. I think it was 5.5, but it didn't matter. It dropped to 4. But Army must have played some good defense. I did not see the game, but they knock off. They won 14-3, so that obviously covers over North Texas. So that obviously people told him that was a bad pick on other shows, but obviously it wasn't. So that runs that record. Now you got a little applause there, Jace. To 7-5 now. So clearly are in the money now on the blue plate, and there'll be one obviously this week be released on Thursday. And that blue plate is brought to you by Chuck Norwood and the Remax Realty team down at Orange Beach Gulf Shores. 251-948-1212 or go to chucknorwood.com. Good morning, Dad. How are you this morning?
Hanging in there, Barry. Several things. Certainly the congratulations goes to Alabama for the way they played. Terrific win. I think the biggest thing, and I don't want to say this negative, is that for your coaches to be sure that your players get through gloating pretty quickly. Mercer's 9-1. You got to go to Oklahoma. Always hard to beat Auburn. You got to win 3 games that you're supposed to win. You brag about that. You talk about it. You congratulate them. You do everything you possibly can. But at the same time, be darn sure that kids are kids, that you get them ready to play. The reason Alabama won the game, one of the reasons, there were several reasons, is the offensive coordinator at Alabama did a terrific job of really throwing the football to the wideouts. To the running backs. And he went a lot of times hard to the right and threw it back to the left, and hard to the left and threw it back to the right. He had him circled and ready to go. I saw him come down the field when the game was over with, right about 2 or 3 minutes to go, and he did a terrific job in calling the plays against Alabama. Now, the plays are no good if the players can't play, and certainly Milroe played a great game, and I'm sure Barry has some comments about that when I get through saying whatever I want to say, which is not going to be a whole lot. Alabama won in basketball against Arkansas State. They'll play tonight against McNeese at 6 o'clock. If you're interested in Alabama basketball, Auburn had a fisticuffs on the way to Houston, turned the plane around, landed, let those 2 guys off, went to Houston and won that basketball game against a very good Houston team. I'll talk about what I think about Auburn later, not now. And so remember now, Alabama does play Mercer at 1 o'clock, and then they go to Oklahoma. That's not going to be easy. Todd Golden, the coach at Florida, has been accused of sexual misconduct or whatever however you want to phrase that, and is continuing to coach at Florida. And I hope things get straightened out. Most people think Todd's a pretty good basketball coach. So we'll see there. That's some quick stuff. I know Barry's got a lot he wants to say, and I don't want to take up his time, but that's some quick, real top of the line stuff that you probably already know anyway. But sure, he and I can discuss other things. Okay.
Yeah, Alabama. Obviously, I think people have been critical of how up and down, how they haven't played on the road. First possession, first play, they jump off sides, and you're like, oh my goodness. But they got it back together. They handled the crowd. There's nothing better. The crowd was gone by the middle of the third quarter, so there was no crowd to deal with. And so you're right. I thought the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator and Coach DeBoer, we've been kind of hard on them throughout the year. But they best game they played all year. They really embarrassed LSU's defense. And Brian Kelly pretty much said it after. It wasn't like we didn't work on the quarterback run and we had schemes to design to stop him, but they obviously did not. Jalen Milroe was just running up and down the field on those guys. So, where there were times, Dad, when we said this doesn't look like a playoff team. Don't worry about the playoff. The playoff will take care of itself. Well, now with those guys knocking them off, South Carolina knocking off Vanderbilt, which I thought would happen, this team has 4 top 25 wins. So it does look like a playoff team now. So you just got to stay with it. They've improved. Obviously, like you said, they got 3 games left. They got Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn, in which they will probably be, I would think, double-digit favors in all 3, don't you? But that doesn't matter. Yeah. You still got to play the game on the field. So got to keep improving. And if they do what they're supposed to do and win these 3 now, there's going to be a ton of teams. If Georgia knocks off Tennessee this weekend and Tennessee's quarterback got hurt at the end, there's going to be a ton of teams 6-2. And there were people saying if all the games go as they're supposed to do, which they never do, Alabama probably could make it to Atlanta. I hadn't figured out all the tiebreakers here, but anyway, they look like a playoff team this weekend.
Well, I think they have. And Georgia's sitting there with their 2 losses. They'll beat Tennessee, but they're sitting there with the 2 losses and drop down. Then Miami comes back, and finally they can't. They fumble on the last possession, going in to come back with a hard-fought victory. So they've dropped down in the rankings. So Alabama is standing in pretty good shape. The biggest thing, of course, is Tennessee has beaten Alabama, and I would think that Georgia's not quite the Georgia of the past, and Kirby's got a good team, but not as good, and so it should be. I'm like you. I haven't decided who's going to be in the conference championship game, but Alabama certainly is. Gene Stallings used to say, "You better win the games you're supposed to win." And you think the game is not important, lose it and see what happens. And now people don't realize that when you're dealing with kids, and you're excited about what happened, and some of those kids that have never been down there and won, you've got to be very, 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 very proud of them, very emotionally excited for them, and then you got to turn the page.
Yeah, as you look at the current standings, Tennessee's 5-1. Texas A&M is 5-1. Texas 4-1. So they played 1 less game. Georgia's now 5-2. Ole Miss 4-2. Ole Miss got Florida, and they've got the Mississippi State left on their schedule. I don't know, Chase. That was my one chance to get my grass cut for a year. I think that may have gone out the window there. So Alabama's currently 4-2. Missouri 3-2. LSU 3-2. But I would think Missouri and LSU, even though they've only lost 2, Missouri is 7-2. But LSU is out. I tell you, the best team right now in the SEC, maybe that is South Carolina. They may be playing better than anybody right now, and I hope the committee rewards them tomorrow night. And even though they have the 3 losses, they could have easily won 2 of those games. They're playing really, really good now. Do they have any chance of getting in this playoff if they went out with the way that they're playing? A lot of people think they're playing as well as anybody in the league.
Well, I wish they could. They got Wofford 1 game, which doesn't mean anything. You just got to win the games you're supposed to win, and then They're at Clemson, of course, which is always big. They've got to go to Clemson this year. I think that's correct. And Clemson is hard to beat over there. So South Carolina has really proven a point that they are a very, very tough team. That they tackle so well. And when I was bragging on the offensive coordinator at Alabama, I certainly would be amiss if I didn't brag on the defensive guy. He worked his fanny off to get him ready to play in certain situations, and to go in there and do that, a lot of credit for him and his staff.
Yeah, South Carolina got Missouri at home, Wofford at home, and they go to Clemson. So they could finish this thing 9-3 possibly. Now, it'd be tough to go to Clemson. Clemson's kind of quietly in the background with that Miami loss now. They're creeping around. They could get in that ACC championship game, and next thing you know, you look up.
Do they play each other, son?
Good question. Let me look at the.
I don't believe that. I don't believe they do.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that.
See, Clemson right now is currently 6-1 in the conference, and they have Pitt, the Citadel, and South Carolina left. So they only have one conference game left. I don't know their tiebreaker. SMU currently is 5-0.
So they didn't play Miami this year.
No, they did not. So we'll see. I don't know how their tiebreakers work. But those would be interesting to look at. We got Joe Holden. Let's take the break. Joe, I don't want to cut Joe short, and we'll get to Joe when we get back. Listen, we want to thank 2 Minute Truck. They're our great sponsor. Been with us since we started the show. Great guys out at 2 Minute Truck. If you're looking to make a local move out of town, out of state, no problem. These guys will take great care of you and your stuff. 205-247-5050. Call them today for the free estimate. Swing by 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go. Pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need in preparation for this move. 2 Minute Truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. Voters in Marengo and Autauga County have followed a national trend of rejecting property taxes to benefit local schools. Marengo County, in the vote last week, rejected a new tax that would have benefited schools an estimated $3 million annually. Now, the city of Demopolis did pass a tax. State School Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey says it will hurt the quality of education. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Moving with a purpose on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We're looking at pretty much favorable conditions around the area. Construction zones not even bothersome right now. But let me pinpoint a couple of them. McFarland, east and westbound between Jack Warner and Lurleen Wallace. You've got long-term
lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside.
It's the Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Yellowwood pressure treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, ESPN has the playoff predictor. Oregon, a 95% chance to make the playoff. Indiana goes to 93%. Ohio State, 92%. There's three Big Ten teams with over 90% chance to make it. Texas, 82. Penn State, 81. So there's another Big Ten team. Alabama, with that win, 76% chance to make it. Tennessee, 74. Georgia, 73. I don't know. Georgia just doesn't look very good. Boise, 71. Notre Dame, 66. Ole Miss, 61%. Miami, 60%. BYU, 59%. And on down the road, Clemson right now currently at 17%. Texas A&M, 14%. South Carolina's even in there, though, at 14% to have a chance to make the playoff. All right, let's get to the Yellowwood hotline and get Joe in. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, coaches. I've got a question for each of you, and Wimp, I want you to go first. Your question is this. You're Scott Strickland.
Yeah.
Why don't you wait to the end of the season to make the announcement on Napier? You saw what happened Saturday.
No, I think he made it. I think he made it at the right time.
I do too.
Okay, I disagree.
And the reason I say that to you is he knew it was going to be a blowout, and he felt like he didn't have any. Because of the Georgia game, gave him a little bit of hope. I don't think he's as bad a coach as everybody else does. I know the record doesn't prove anything. I got all that. I think he did the right. I think he did the right thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if he loses out and loses to Florida State, he made the right decision.
Yes.
Yes, I think he did. I ain't right about everything. I ain't right about many things. To answer your question, that's what I would have done.
Otherwise, Joe, the negativity and then that kills their recruiting. They got a freshman quarterback there. At least it gives them a chance. They can recruit and say, hey, we're going to be back. And they could try to hold on to what they got. But when you just leave it swirling in the air, that's all you hear. So at least that will take that away. The guy's done. I mean, we knew this was going to be a tough schedule. And so I think he did the right thing. They got LSU, Ole Miss, and they got to finish up at Florida State. So we'll see.
They're in the same boat, Oklahoma. And I called y'all the day that they announced Venable's contract extension. And you see the season they're having. Yeah, and everybody at Auburn.
They did that last year because they felt like it's effective recruiting. I don't know why they gave him 6 years, but I think they did that.
That was my point.
Yeah,
and Napier still got this other time.
Yeah,
Auburn is living on a recruiting class dream, just like Jimbo Fisher was. And we saw what happened there. Yeah. Okay, Barry, here's your question. What's your opinion of your coach now?
Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
They looked, is this a word, unprepared? And what was even worse is they had 2 weeks to get ready for Jalen Milroe. I still think he's a good coach, but I think they had a terrible week, and that was embarrassing.
Did you watch the game to the end, Barry?
Yes.
You saw him leave his first team in to go down and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But you still think the same before the game as you do now. Just say it, Barry.
Now I have a bad taste in my mouth about him after that game, but that's what happens with these guys. But we had a bad taste in our mouth about DeBoer and these coordinators, and then now we love them, right, Joe? That's how it works, right? They go week to week.
Joe had never turned his back on DeBoer. I started to call you and Tony Friday, but the time ran out. Y'all were just beating poor Milroe up so bad, and I've told y'all, give Tennessee's defense some credit. Everybody wants to blame our players when we lose. Look at the other team. Y'all are coaches. Y'all know that.
Well, I didn't think they handled the crowd well at all at Tennessee, but they did much better, obviously, against LSU. Much better. That
LSU crowd is so overrated at night. They're all so drunk, liquored up. It don't matter no way. All right, this is the history at LSU, Barry. The last 3 coaches, Saban, the Mad Hatter, and Ogeron, all won national championships.
Ooh,
your boy Kelly. That's right, Wimp. Nobody thinks about history.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I do. I think about history in basketball. Nobody remembers it.
Well, me and you talk about it a lot. You know that. Every year we talk about it. So, Barry, he's got 10 losses in 3 years, and the season ain't even over. Compare that to the other 3 coaches, Barry.
So what are you saying they should do, fire him?
I'm just saying if LSU wants to get rid of him, they are justified in doing it. That's all I'm saying. You don't. You think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
I don't know if I go that far. Let's see what He's been at LSU since 2022. So I don't know. Last year they had a great offense. This year, last year their defense was pathetic, but that defense on Saturday was really bad. It was really bad.
He has the best-looking quarterback in pro football right now, who won the Heisman, and also had 2 wide receivers drafted in the first round who are having great years in the pros. And he still lost 3 games with those guys.
He went for 2 against Saban, and he went for 2 against Saban, and LSU beat Alabama.
Did you see what happened?
That's the only positive you can say about him, Wimp. He's got 1 signature win in his career in 3 years.
What a win.
Did you see who Saban spoke to when he was in Baton Rouge?
No, I didn't bother to watch it.
He spoke to Kim Mulkey's team. She had him come speak to her team. So,
I think Kim Mulkey can do a pretty good job of that without him, don't you?
Yeah, you ought to have Kim Mulkey speak to your team.
Really?
So yeah, really? He had Kim Mulkey had him in there talking. He was talking about the process.
And let me say this before y'all get me off. I want to thank Tony. The day I called in and said that Kirby would lose 2 games, and y'all told me no way, Tony called in behind me and agreed about the divisions and said, I think Joe could be right. So I was right.
Georgia's had 3 or 4 great years.
Georgia is finally showing you their lack of discipline off the field and all that. They must have a lot of problems there. And, Joe, let me ask you this. How bad does it have to be on the flight to turn the plane around? You don't think a coach should be able to get up and get that stopped to where we don't have to turn the freaking plane around? They were going to land it in Montgomery, and then they said, nah, they're taking that thing back to Auburn. And Dad said, yeah, they flew back out. But they had to send another plane to get them. How expensive was that?
I know it exactly. And did you hear the recording of the pilot?
Yeah.
I mean,
what did he say? I didn't hear that. What did he say?
Somebody told me they were fighting over pork rinds. I don't know if that's true, but
hey, boy, that pilot put it on him, buddy. He didn't wait. He turned that. He called in. He radioed in, and he got clearance to go back and land. And they said he told them what the problem was. One was bleeding. Both of them's shirts were all torn and everything, he said. So it's ridiculous.
Jay, see if you can find that recording, and we'll play that at some point.
One other quick thing. Is that the first time, besides Alabama, that you've seen somebody play Georgia and be more physical and have better athletes since Kirby's been there? I mean, boy, and that backup quarterback, I don't know why he hadn't been playing that kid more at Ole Miss. He
loves Jackson Dart, though. He loves that kid.
He does. He proved it to me because I thought he was going to lose the game when he went back to Dart.
Joe, you're right. You're right this week. Call us back next week. We'll see.
Hey, Joe.
What, Wimp?
Write this down. Auburn won't be in the top 3 in the SEC standings when the season's over with in basketball.
Okay, because you think he's got more than you think he's got more than he can recover from.
And you certainly can't say this because Houston is very, very good defensively. Auburn's not good. Auburn is not good. I don't care who they play. They're not a good offensive basketball team.
Boy, I tell you, that kid from Tech, boy, that was a diamond in the rough to get him. He was wearing it out from threes.
Yeah, but that freshman guard they got. Yeah.
But there's a reason why we got their point guard at Tuscaloosa. We know, don't we?
Yeah.
I guess.
That's right.
You're loaded.
Yeah. Alabama, Brian Hodgkin, he uglied up the game, and he guarded them from the free throw line real well. But he's done a nice job over there in 1 year at Arkansas State getting in some players. So I think Arkansas State.
We got another one of your boys coming in here tonight, Barry. What's the score? The final score?
The one he don't like.
I looked at it. Alabama's a 20.5-point favorite. I don't understand. McNeese has only played 2 games. They blew out Biblical Studies. Who is Biblical Studies? And then they lost to South Dakota State 80-73.
And South Dakota State's coming to Tuscaloosa, so don't,
And don't sleep on
find out.
North Florida. North Florida smacked South Carolina. Then they turned around and smacked Georgia Tech yesterday. So
that's right.
Well, I don't know.
In North Dakota.
Yeah.
It's North Dakota too, besides South Dakota.
Don't play bad name, good teams.
Don't play those Dakotas.
Do not play a bad name with a good team.
There you go. Thank you, Joe.
Thank y'all.
All right, we'll get to break here. Sorry, Philip, call us back. We got to get to Max Howell when we get back from break. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Moving with a purpose on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We're looking at pretty much favorable conditions around the area. Construction zones, not even bothersome right now. But let me pinpoint a couple of them. McFarland, east and westbound between Jack Warner and Lurleen Wallace. You've got long-term road work.
All-day electrical distributors in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, or Decatur, or call All-Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville for an on-site evaluation and recommendations for optimizing your lighting.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few lingering showers this morning. Otherwise, the sky becoming partially sunny today, the high 76. Mostly clear tonight, the low 64. Tomorrow, a dry day with a good supply of sunshine, the afternoon high at 73. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 65 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Well, in North Carolina, way back in the hill, lived my old pappy and he had him a still. He brewed white lightning until the sun went down, and then he'd fill him a jug.
Welcome back
and
to
he'd pass
Inside
it
the Locker Room.
around.
Pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, then you don't want it. All right, the SEC now is clear as mud. We'll get to Max Howell. We'll get right to the Yellowwood Hotline, former assistant coach at Florida State Ole Miss, radio personality throughout the Southeast for many years. People rely on Max for all their news on college football. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Hey, Max.
Doing great, guys. How y'all this morning?
We're okay.
We're good. Go ahead, Dad.
Max, you have to be careful about your last three games before you start bragging on this win, but that was a heck of a win, and the offensive and defensive coordinators did a great job of preparing their team. Players win games, but coaches can help them.
No doubt. I don't think there's any doubt, and I think those coaches that might even start to kind of look ahead, sometimes you get caught up in that as well, but I think this last, starting this past Saturday and what we got to the end of the year, I think that's what everybody that's a big college football fan wish for. And I know we've talked a little bit about maybe the SEC's drifting too much like the NFL, but the competitiveness of those ball games that we saw this past Saturday and we're going to see the next couple of Saturdays, I think that's really what the game's all about. And maybe it's all about the emotion that's building up for the playoffs. And I really hope that's what the case is. I was extremely excited Saturday to sit here and watch the games, the way they played out. They defied what Vegas had them on as far as the point spread in the two big games, and I think that was good as well. So I think we got a lot of good things to look forward to as far as the SEC is concerned.
How much does the coordinator play? Milroe, there's been games he honestly didn't look good. There's been other games where it looks like he should be New York with a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. LSU is a team that for whatever reason, Max, he matches up well against these guys. He plays well with them, well against those guys. What is the difference there? Is the coordinator just did a better job? He's more confident. His feet were unbelievable. LSU looked like they didn't even prepare for him, to be honest with you. What did you see there that made Jalen Milroe so good on Saturday night?
I think 2 weeks of preparation, Barry, is the first thing. I really do believe that. This time of the season, anyway. They had 2 weeks that could give them a little rest early on, and then they found some weaknesses in the defense. And and Alabama exploited that.
Of course, when you got a kid like him, I think many times all you got to do is put him in the right position, and he'll take over, and he did particularly on the long runs that he had. I don't think anybody ever doubted his athletic ability, but he mixed the run and pass up, and they took full advantage. I hate to get into the coaching thing, but Alabama just literally not only outplayed them, they outcoached them.
Yeah.
And I know Coach Kelly was he was complaining at the end. Alabama, even though they were playing the twos right at the end of the ball game, remember LSU scored with 13 seconds on in the ball game. So it's a situation where he didn't have any. If he was going to complain about the way Alabama played, that should have come in comparison to what his team did. Ought to come in the first or second quarter when Alabama just actually took over the ball game itself.
Yeah. Tell Barry and I who plays in the championship game for the SEC, which two teams. That's going. I wish I knew, Coach. I'd be probably headed out to Vegas next week if I knew. But the fact is, it's going to determine a lot of things. Who'd have ever thought Georgia would, end up the way they're ending up? They aren't getting the most out of their players. They made some really mistakes. The offensive front's not blocking very well. Beck's not throwing the ball well. Everybody thought Georgia would be in there. Then you got Texas that Georgia beat. And then all of a sudden there's Ole Miss. They jump up, they beat that. They're going to Florida this week. I don't think there's any doubt. I'm just giving they open this week. They got to go to Florida next week. And then they got Mississippi State at home. I think they're going to finish out with 2 losses, and certainly they're going to be in it. So I think it's a coin toss. That's what I've said earlier. I think it's defying what the SEC wanted. Everybody's asking that question right now with the top 3 or 4 teams, and I think that's really good for the sport.
Yeah, you look at the Big Ten now. It's hard to think of Oregon in the Big Ten, but you got Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 4, and Indiana 5. So 4 of your top 5 are in the Big Ten, Max. So the SEC, you've got in the top 12, Texas at 3, Tennessee, who I don't know how good they are. They're ranked 6. Alabama now is 9, Ole Miss 10, Georgia 11 there. So that's 2 conferences that probably could end up having 8 teams in this playoff.
That's very true. I don't know that they'll allow that to happen, but who knows? Maybe this first year, maybe that's the way it washes out. I think really, if you look at it, Georgia's basically their own redemption. They got to beat Tennessee this week. And, of course, they're playing in Athens, so I think they got a pretty good chance. If they was playing in Knoxville, I'd take Tennessee in a heartbeat, the way Georgia's playing
What's
right now.
wrong with Georgia, Max? They don't look I don't know.
I don't know. You can't get into the minds of what's happening to the kids, and I know they're prepared. I mean, Kirby's done too good a job week in and week out, so and all of a sudden they just had a drop-off. I don't know whether it's something in the dressing room, and I don't know whether it's, the inefficiency right now of Carson Beck is something, though, that's going on internally, that they aren't getting the most out of the kids. I just heard the stats this morning. I was listening to a couple of talk shows in Atlanta, and Georgia's like 96 in the country in rush offense. Can you believe that? I mean, that's been their strong point all through these years. All those games that he's won, they've always had a great running game. Obviously, the offensive front's not getting it done. They gave up 5 sacks on this past week. So I don't know. It's just a situation that it's the unknown, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, that. All right, I don't know if we lost him there or not. So, Max, I think if it comes down between Alabama and Georgia, Alabama get the nod. If it comes down with Alabama, Tennessee, then you worry about. So I would think if you're an Alabama fan, you need Tennessee to knock off Georgia this weekend to get them kind of out of there. To be quite honest with you, but I guess it's going to come down to this tiebreaker, and then if you get to Atlanta. I don't know, how important is it to get there? If you knew you could get in the playoff but didn't have to go to Atlanta, well, of course, if you win in Atlanta, you get that first round bye, which sometimes getting a bye is good, sometimes it's not, because teams like to keep playing in rhythm. How important are these championship games now in like the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC?
I'm telling you right now, Barry, that's a mouthful to answer all those questions. It's the truth. And, you basically, if you start to analyze each game the way they've got to be played, the teams that's favored should win out, but we've seen that not being the case. I mean, we've seen teams that, like Ole Miss is a perfect example. I mean, they looked terrible against LSU, and then they come back and just handled it. Remember, in that game against Georgia this past weekend, they were out there starting running back, they were out there starting best wide receiver in the country, and the starting quarterback goes down on the first play, and they still win. So, I think all of those has got to be played and analyzed week by week. And I don't know that anybody can. I think Vegas is going to have a hard time. If you notice, they've shortened down the lines by the point spread, and I think that's a good indication that they don't know either. They can't tell exactly like they have done through the years. I think the competitiveness of each game right now is something that, and you know who wins in that, the television networks, because the viewers, not only the stadium's packed, but they've increased the number of the viewership, particularly in this conference this past year.
Yeah, Scott Strickland comes out and he gives Billy Napier the vote of confidence, says he's coming back next year. Dad and I thought it was good for him to do that. If you know he's coming back, then go ahead and do it. That helps his recruiting, helps him, maybe retain who he has there. We had a caller call in about 10 minutes ago and saying, why would Scott Strickland do it now? What if they lose out and lose to Florida State? I guess you could always change your mind. I thought it was good that he did it if he knows he's going to be back, because it stops all the negativity. Some things get so negative. Do you agree that Scott Strickland did the right thing or not?
Let me just tell you another story, guys, that's going on that hasn't hit the papers yet. Scott Strickland ain't real sure he's coming back. Yeah. I'm telling you. Yeah. And so by releasing that letter, that will become, unless the vice president that he answers to had okayed that letter, that letter will be null and void.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. I'm going to tell you, if you look at Florida on the inside right now, guys, it's no different than the same thing Tennessee went through for the last 10 years until they got Heupel there and the new athletic director and a new president. They switched genders. They went to a female president at University of Tennessee. Look what's happened. They've blossomed out of that. Florida's getting ready to go through it. Auburn's going through something very similar right now. So, I don't know how that's all going to work out internally with the politics, but it doesn't matter. However they clear that up or don't clear it up, we're going to see it on the field or on the basketball court or whatever it might be. I mean, I don't even want to get into the other thing with the plane having to stop with Auburn this weekend. That's another story.
Have you ever heard of that, Max? I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
That is embarrassing.
Those are indicators, Barry. Those are indicators, though, of internal problems. Is what that is.
But then they go in. Yeah, you think that, and you're probably right. They drop the two guys off, send another plane. Then they go beat the number one team in the country in Houston. So you would think that's and then one of the players on live video after the game says something like, if you put lock up a bunch of dogs in a plane, bad things are going to happen or something along those lines. Like, dude, come on, too soon.
I've been on a bunch of them, but I know you guys have too. I had never seen that before.
Yeah, that's a new one.
And I could maybe even understand it if they got beat and it was on the trip home, when all the emotion's still up. But going to the ball game, give me a break.
Golly.
So, and those are the things that erupt, that makes it. My television is, I have a Fire Stick, so I got 1,000 channels I flip around on. And my channel that I watch ABC football on actually comes out of Minnesota. And I don't know why I locked on that, but that made the basketball story made the top news line in Minnesota on Saturday when they broke in for the local Jews. So that was a national story. So it's not just us looking about what the heck's going on down there. Everybody in the country knows about it now.
Yeah, it was that was a bad look, to be quite honest with you. And Bruce Pearl didn't have anything really to say about it after the game. Is Hugh Freeze Hugh Freeze doesn't look like he's having fun, Max. Of course, nobody would have been fun when you lose. You've lost every SEC home game. Yep. Is he the guy to turn that thing around, or are you starting to wonder about that?
See, guys, I don't know who's making decisions over there, and maybe you guys have a better insight than I do. And I'm talking about the I don't know where it's part of the board of trustees. I don't know. I hadn't figured that out yet. But something is not right with the whole situation. I looked at this. The best they're going to do is win 3 this year. I don't see any other way. And that's, his second year. In fact, I just read where his record right now, 9-12 in the SEC, is what got the last coach fired. So, I don't think they're going to cut him loose right now. But the fact is, going to the portal, who wants to go to a team that's not been successful? These guys that jump in the portal to make a team better, they trying to make themselves better so they get to the NFL. And I don't know how well they'll be able to, improve the team overall with a couple of years that he's had this way. So I don't know. I wish I had an answer to that. And I used to have a lot of great contacts down there, could talk it for most anybody, but all of a sudden those contacts have dried up. They're not talking anything about Auburn right now.
We know you're close with Deion. He took some criticism on how he's run the program. Max, he's sitting here 7-2. And he's really got 3 games he's going to be favored in. He's got Utah at home,
very true,
at Kansas, who's not good this year, and Oklahoma State at home. He could go 10-2.
Right.
Will he be up for Coach of the Year at 10-2? Now, Cignetti's going to be hard to beat when you're 10-0 at Indiana. But Deion and those guys, he's got his son and that receiver, defensive back. They're great players. There. Yep. What is the future for Deion Sanders? Will he stay in Colorado? Will he try to move? What's your thoughts there with what he's doing?
It's going to be interesting because, he took that job and turned the program around basically because of his sons and because of Travis Hunter. Hunter, he told Hunter, I know for a fact that once he got into to Jackson State that he was going to move on and take him with him, and he did, and he's putting him on a big stage, and he's producing. That's the thing. Just think about the kids playing 120 snaps a ball game at the 2 positions that you got to run every step, the wide receiver and defensive back. So, it takes an unusual athlete to accomplish that. Deion says he's probably one of the best he's ever played, period. And it's because probably that he's not getting a lot of day-by-day national recognition because of having come through the system that Deion taking over a program that had, they won 1 ball game the year before he got there. So, he won 4 last year with him. So, he certainly, the team should certainly be recognized for their accomplishments. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And his personality rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But I was around the guy for 2 years, and I'm just telling you, he talked a lot, but his philosophy is if you do it, it ain't bragging. And I don't think there's any doubt about his playing ability. And what he's done, if you think about it, what he's done by bringing in so many players, he's playing the odds. He said, if I go through 100, I'll find me, 20 or 30 that can play. And that's what he's done. He replaced everybody but 2 or 3 kids on that first roster. He replaced 44 this past year after he went 4-8. So it's worked for him. Now, where they go from here, if he wins in that league that he plays in, is that going to be good enough to get him into the playoffs? I think that's the big question that he and everybody at the University of Colorado is asking right now.
All right. Lastly, Max, and I don't know the committees. Is the committee's job to get the 12 best teams in there? If it is, South Carolina, Max, they may be playing as good a football as anybody in the country. They had 2 losses, LSU and Alabama really could have won both of those games. They didn't, so that's easy to say. They're 23 now, but where should they be ranked tomorrow? If you're talking about the 12 best, I think you got to start thinking about these guys and getting them close. They got Missouri. They got some cupcake. Then they got to finish up at Clemson. If they won out, is there any chance for South Carolina to creep up in this thing?
I think it depends on much of the others, Barry, that's at the top right now. If and here we go with the committee. What are they going to evaluate? Strength of schedule? How they going to are they going evaluate who's playing the best at this time of the year, they've got to be concerned about the TV audience, not only just in the Southeastern Conference, but they got to be concerned about the national TV audience. And I know pretty well for a fact when Florida State last year went undefeated and won their conference on top of that, and they did get picked in the playoffs, and they took Alabama, mainly because Alabama brought more eyes to the TV. And the numbers I heard was on evaluation is just an example of what I think the committees have to go through. That Florida State might bring 4 to 5 million across the country watching the ball game. Alabama brought 20 or 30 million across the country to look at it, and that's important because that's what generates the money because of the ad sales to the networks, and that in essence generates the cash that comes back to the conference. So a lot of things like that go into picking those teams, and I really don't think the committee knows. They got their list that they're watching every week. But I don't think they'll know. They won't make up their mind because of the intensity of what's happening toward the end of the season with those 1 and 2 loss teams. I don't think anybody thought that there'd be an undefeated team come through. And certainly with Miami getting beat this past weekend, that's probably in the top 5 or 6. Indiana may end up, but I don't know that they'll end up in the top 5, even if they remain undefeated. So I think all that's going to play into as far as the committee is concerned about picking the top 12 to make the playoffs.
Well, Max, we appreciate it. Dad had a little situation there he was dealing with. We just lost Max.
You there?
Yeah, we just lost Max. So when you switched that over, we lost him. Chase.
I just got a call text this morning from I won't tell it right now because I'm not sure, from John Cohen, athletic director. In fact, it woke me up at 4:00. So. I don't know exactly what all said in the text, but I'm trying to find out.
The text about what?
Well, just about things at Auburn. He wouldn't go into detail. So we'll see.
All right. We got Max back. All right. Sorry, Max. We got you cut off there. Sorry.
Somebody hit the wrong button. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I think as far as the conversation is concerned, Barry, I think the committee is going to have their hands full, making that right decision. But there's going to be more to it, I think, when it boils down to those teams that are very close, about the viewing audience, where they're located, what kind of funds can they generate for the conference. I think that's going to be a key to it. And it's tracing that money. I mean, it's a money trail. And if the NCAA has okayed a 12-man playoff in this league, they're getting closer and closer to what the NFL does.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Max, what you got? Any big plans for the weekend? Ole Miss is off, so there'll be some hunting going on around there this weekend.
Listen, my guys, after that ball, this is no joke. The guys I cooked for, there was 4 of them, took off after the ball game Saturday. They drove from Fulton, Mississippi to Denver, Colorado, 30 hours to hunt. And they in the mountains hunting elk this morning. And they'll be back. They'll be back in Fulton, Mississippi on Thursday this week. So I'll be in touch. I won't know the menu though to what they want till they get back. I've already talked to them a couple of times. So anyway, it's a wild bunch I fool with up here now.
All right. Well, a few weeks left of college football. It goes fast, but it should be exciting. Thank you, Max.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, we'll take this break here. Open up the phone lines 205-342-9904. Chase also has the pilots that were communicating with the tower about the fight on the plane. So we'll play that one. There's a couple different versions out. I'm not sure which one he has, but we'll hear what they were saying from the airplane back to the towers, and they took that plane back. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. They make this 7 o'clock hour possible. They do it for us each and every day. I always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. Listen, Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're going to recap Alabama and LSU. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore. Hopefully we're recapping an Alabama victory. Either way, we'll take your phone calls. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee. And we'll Clark and Martin, Houston, all starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Same song, different verse. We are just traveling nicely around the area. Very quiet for your Monday morning commute. Taking a look at McFarland, you may slow down where you're definitely slowing down at the Hargrove intersection, but that's pretty much typical, so nothing to be alarmed about. Skyland Boulevard continues to...
Brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Checking Sunday's action from Week 10 in the NFL. The Sunday night game saw the Lions, who were down 16-0 at the half on the road, rally back for a 26-23 win on a last-second field goal. Detroit's won 7 in a row. They're 8-1 overall. Houston falls to 6-4. Steelers pull out a 28-27 road win over the Commanders. Pittsburgh at 7-2. Washington 7-3. Chiefs are 9-0 after beating the Broncos 16-14. They block a Denver game-winning field goal attempt on the final play of the game. Eagles are 7-2. They've won 5 straight after crushing the Cowboys in Dallas 34-6. 49ers edged the Buccaneers on the road 23-20 on a last-second field goal. Saints surprised the Falcons 20-17. Bills over the Colts on the road 30-20. Buffalo's 8-2. Was the Cardinals all over the Jets 31-6. Chargers topped the...
Just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
Did you say you're cutting me off?
You earn We Match. Unlimited cashback match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room, 205-342-9904. If you'd like to jump in on the show with us, the Allstate Insurance agent, Andrew Kniffer. Andrew's my agent. Let him become yours. Out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Don't just pay the bill. Looking for home, life, auto. This is your guy. Give him a call today, 205-722-9201. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. All right, get up to the Andrew Kniffer hotline. We'll bring Philip into the show. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, guys. That was a good, clean game Saturday night, and offensive line blocked like crazy, and I thought that was going to be the key to the victory, and I think it was. I know Milroe had a great game, but the offensive line did their job. They only had one miscue, and that was at the start of the game, and after that, they settled down and played great.
Yeah, I thought it was the best game of the year. You just never know, and I think somebody talked about me and Tony. We were just kind of seeing what we've seen, and so we weren't sure how Alabama would play. Nobody saw that coming. Not that people didn't think that they wouldn't win, but it looked like LSU's defense did not even prepare for Jalen Milroe. Philip, I mean, he ran through them. Yeah.
Oh, John Cohen just called me, and he'll be on the show in the morning at 8:15.
Okay. All right. So, Philip, what did you think about that? The way that they played there.
Well, I mean, I think Alabama was just ready. I mean, they were opening up good lanes not only for Jalen, but the backs had some good lanes there, and Alabama was just able to move the ball on the ground. Period. And of course, Milroe had a fantastic game. There were only a couple of plays that I think Coach Sheridan wishes he probably could do over again, and two of them were the long passes in the first half with the wet football and wet conditions that went incomplete, and then there was that sideline route that Alabama just can't hardly ever pull off. That sort of was throw out into the flats.
Yeah.
Other than that, Alabama had a really good call game and executed flawlessly, and
defense was lights out, and they had to have the game. There was a lot of pressure there.
Yeah. We had talked about they hadn't looked like a playoff team. Well, that did. So you just have to keep playing, keep winning, and then things will turn. So now, with where the top 25 is now, they've got 4 wins against the top 25. So I think if they put themselves in great shape, they just win out, then they'll be in this playoff with nothing to worry about.
I agree, Barry. And if you look at the from an objective standpoint, I think Tennessee's going to beat Georgia Saturday.
You think? Yeah.
I think they're going to beat Georgia Saturday. I think they're going to beat them in Athens. And if they do that, they will probably lock up a slot in Atlanta. I can't see them, stumbling to UTEP, and I certainly can't see them. Even though it's going to be in Nashville, it's going to be a tricky environment in Nashville, and Vandy's good. I can't see Vanderbilt beating Nashville in that situation, Vanderbilt beating Tennessee in that situation. And then I like Texas as their opponent in Atlanta.
So who makes it to Atlanta? Tennessee and Texas, you think?
That's my thinking right now, Barry.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, I'm on this show too, and Tennessee's not going to beat Georgia.
Yes, sir, you are. Renton, I don't mean to leave you out, but I think I'm going to go with Tennessee. They might get beat. I don't know. I think they're better than Georgia.
I think Georgia turns. I know they got some discipline problems, but I got too much confidence in their coaching staff.
I don't. That's a flip game to me. I don't know how good Tennessee is. I certainly don't think Georgia is that good. They've had so many close calls. Eventually, they get you. It's just like Miami. Miami kept flirting, and then boom, they finally got beat. So if you keep flirting with it, it'll happen, and we'll see. It's just not the talent level at Georgia is not what it's been, and maybe the discipline's not either. And it's finally caught up with them. So no Brock Bowers to bail them out anymore over there, Philip.
Boy,
right. I got to go to Tuscaloosa Friday, and we decided to go up last second and attended the basketball game Friday night. Real late arriving crowd, man. When it was probably 4 minutes to go before tip off, and I was afraid they were going to have about 5,000 people there, and then all of a sudden that sucker was full. And great crowd, great environment. Really good game. Arkansas State played hard. They cut that 17-point lead, I believe, down to 2. And they've got some good players. Coach Hodgson did a good job, and Alabama's got a really good, fast, athletic, physical team. And I'll tell you the thing I really liked to see last night as an older fan was just a large number of high school kids going to the game. That was good to see because they're the future. They're the future fans right there.
There you go. And there's high school football too, and then the parking there. I think it takes you a little longer to get in there than normal. So, Philip, as always, we appreciate the call.
Well, I appreciate y'all's show, and I appreciate you guys letting me get on and chat.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to the Yellowwood Hotline. We'll get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Barry, good morning. Good morning, Coach. How are y'all? Hey, Coach, I got to ask you something.
Okay.
I need to call you in the early evening this afternoon. I got something I need to tell you.
All right, you got my get my cell number from Chase.
Already. Yeah, you had given it to me early. But
okay.
Make sure it's okay. And I got something you'll be interested in, but I can't bring it on the air.
Okay, good.
And Barry, I'm glad that Joe busted you this morning about Kelly. Finally. You admitted he's not a very good coach, and Joe finally.
I didn't admit it. I said he didn't coach a good game this weekend.
Well, you need to go back and admit it.
He didn't coach a good game this weekend.
That's
the problem. Y'all judge these guys week to week. Y'all judge them week to week.
Games in 3 years.
Y'all judge them week to week.
No, we don't. Joe brought it up. 3 years, 10 games lost. There it is. That's not week to week.
I've heard people criticizing the coordinators here, and justifiably
not
so.
Me.
And then now all of a sudden they played so great, and
well,
now
and that's the greatest coach of all time. You know what he said?
What's that?
He said, "If you perform bad, you expect to get criticized."
Yeah.
Okay. There it is.
Okay.
Now let's get down to the brass tacks. Coach, I need to ask you and Barry, I value y'all's opinions a lot. So, it's interesting to me that Coach Saban, 2 out of the last 3 weeks on game day, has brought up Billy Napier and his performance as a coach, and he's had positive things to say. And the powers that be at Florida have decided that they're going to keep Billy Napier after all. And I think that's what influenced them.
I would agree that he said that on Billy's behalf, so that people believe in what Coach says. And I think he wanted to help him. He was on Coach's staff, and Coach thinks a lot of him. I don't know what's happened down there. I can't tell you why they're not winning, but he believes him as a very good coach, and so he did what he could do to help him.
Coach, he sees the same thing you've been saying ever since they hired Coach Napier, that he's a good coach, right or wrong.
Yeah, I have been. Everybody's been bugging me about it.
I know, but everybody can't be right. Everybody can't be right. But Coach Saban, he said the same. Well, I mean, he believes in him like you did to some degree. Yeah. And I just think it's an outstanding thing on Coach Saban's part. He said, hey, everybody needs to settle down just a little bit and give somebody a chance.
Yeah.
And I thought that was outstanding.
Well, you got to give him time. I mean, the guy inherited the.
Oh, that ain't what you've been saying.
And
that's not what you said.
About what?
About Coach Napier.
I ain't never said get rid of Coach Napier.
No, you started before the season started about how hard that schedule was and how dumb it was for scheduling.
It is, and I still stand by that. You don't schedule like that, Tom. You can't play that many tough teams in a row with the injury bug and all those things. Nobody can survive that. Look at all these other SEC teams. They're getting beat up because of the schedules, and that schedule is ridiculous. The person who made that schedule wasn't planning on coaching it.
We all three, and nobody likes Dan Mullins. The AD hired him. The AD at Alabama hired him at Mississippi State. He's got a way about him that it turns people off for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but he won quite a few games in Florida, didn't he, Barry?
He did. He was successful in my book, and he did. Coach Muschamp and the others that came in there, they didn't walk into, a Rose Garden. But, Barry always said, and this is true, that, when they hire somebody, that's because somebody wasn't performing.
Yeah, especially at SEC, because they usually don't leave an SEC job for another job, so most of the time you were fired unless you're going to the NFL.
That's what I was trying to say. I couldn't get it out, but trying to quote what you have said in the past. But Coach, I found it interesting. I've been watching that for the last 2 or 3 weeks about Coach Saban and his comments about Florida. And Saturday he reaffirmed what he has been saying about Coach Napier, and I found that to be very interesting. And I thought, what a great platform to get out there and talk about somebody you believe in.
Coaches, Tom, are pro coach, and they know how difficult these jobs are, and so he knows what he's going through on a daily basis, and so they're going to be pro coach where fans are not pro coach.
Hey, Tom. Yes. Tomorrow, can I let Barry ask John Cohen the tough questions and me stay out of it? I don't want to get John mad at me because he likes me.
Well, I mean, wait till my phone call tonight, and what I'm going to tell you is going to influence your interview with him.
Okay.
I found out some stuff, and Philip won't call you and tell you, but I will.
About that?
Well, no, don't call any names. Don't call any names.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Y'all are talking in code.
I'm not. I didn't know.
All right. We were supposed to play the audio from the pilot, but we'll play. We got that audio. We'll play that for you in the show.
We're not going to play it tomorrow when John's on the show.
That ain't got nothing to do with that.
No, well, we're going to play it. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
Tom. See y'all.
All right, we'll get to break here. We'll get Doug in. I can pull up Doug's scores. I think I know where he landed. Typical Doug this weekend, but we'll figure out where Doug is. We got to double check it. Some of that I couldn't remember. All right. We want to thank Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. Those Tundras, those Tacomas, those Camrys, those Highlanders. Great deals out there on all their vehicles, trucks, SUVs, cars. Tuscaloosa Toyota is out there on Skyland Boulevard. You can go to the website, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Look at all the new inventory, the pre-owned, scheduled service, rent a Toyota, order a part, whatever you need. We'll talk to Justin on Wednesday about all the great deals going on out at Tuscaloosa Toyota. Listen to Tide 100.9 is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are pretty much breezing right on through your prime time traffic. We're only looking at a very, very minor situation in Mimosa Highlands, and this is on Highway 69 northbound before Mimosa Park Road. This is debris in the left lane, but you are still green for go. I don't see any severe delay.
Your toes.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and local routes.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Here are thoughts from Kalen DeBoer following Alabama's win on Saturday against LSU.
I'm just super proud of the guys, the way they prepared. I think led them to a place where had some pretty good confidence coming in. Just felt like the energy was there all week long, and as the week kind of progressed, you could just feel that we're on top of our game and understood what it would take to come here and play 4 quarters. I felt like that was probably most complete game we played. We've done that to some extent here the last two games against Missouri and tonight. So coming in a tough environment, just play after play, just stay in the course, and then coming out in the third quarter, getting an interception. I think, just going back down the field and playing good complementary team football.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, live at 6 p.m. Central from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
2-time state champion and 2-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room. We'll get right up to the Yellowwood Hotlines. He's with PGA Tour Radio, PGA Tour Live, CBS Sports Headquarters. Joins us every Monday. He's a pigskin prognosticator. How did I say that? What's that word, Jace? I don't even know. All right, Doug Bell. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Hey, Doug.
I couldn't get
guys,
that out.
I know it's pigskin prognosticator of prodigious proportions. It's easy. It flows out once you say it a million times.
There you go. Go ahead, Ed.
I kind of like that picture of you and her on Facebook.
Well, we've been driving back and forth, and I stopped in Gainesville, where I actually graduated many, many years ago. And so, Brandy's an University of Alabama graduate, so I'm trying to introduce her to things going on in Gainesville. She's still skeptical. But,
I don't blame her.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in Gainesville right now. We probably won't have time to get into it, but there's a lot going on, not only with football, with basketball, but that's another story another day.
But before we get to the football and basketball stuff there and your picks, I can't think of what I wanted to ask you now. I can't think of what I wanted to ask you. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I want to ask you this. I saw somebody said Donald Trump winning the election will help get this merger between LIV and the PGA Tour done. Is there any truth to that?
Absolutely, 100%. And Rory McIlroy was the first guy once the results were in to send that out on X. And obviously, he's big on X. Elon Musk is big on X. It all ties in, right? But the bottom line is Live Golf plays at least 2, maybe 3 of their events on Donald Trump properties, which are incredible golf courses. So he's always been a supporter of Live. And as I told you last week, Barry and Coach, the hang-up, even though we're getting closer to an agreement, was the Saudis were nervous that the Department of Justice wanted to, before they approved any sort of deal, they wanted to go with a fine-tooth comb through everything. And that made the Saudis nervous. That was the ultimate hang-up. And now with Donald Trump and a new administration coming in, who is pro-golf, by the way, and arguably the best golfer we've ever had as the President of the United States. That's not hyperbole. He's really good. But I think what he wants to do, and this will be low on the totem pole, guys. Obviously, there's many, many more important things than, the merger between the PGA Tour and Live. But I do think with the new head of the DOJ, et cetera, I do think this will expedite things. And as I told you last week, Barry, the bottom line is the PGA Tour is going to give up 11% to Live Golf. Live Golf will now play underneath the PGA Tour umbrella. In exchange, they'll give the PGA Tour upwards of $3 billion of capital. And then what would have to be worked out is would there be a penalty for the guys who went to Live or who want to come back and play select events? Yeah, that's all to be debated, and probably has already been worked out. They're just waiting to release the details once all this happens. But yes, to answer your question, the fact that we have a new president of the United States who loves golf, who loves all these guys, by the way. Bryson DeChambeau was at President Trump's victory celebration at Mar-a-Lago. He was up on stage. So most of these golfers obviously are Republican. They make a ton of money. They love the tax bracket they're in, et cetera. So we don't need to get into too much of a political debate.
I was just saying this will help get this done quicker.
Yeah, no question. No question.
Yeah.
And I do think as the calendar turns into 2025, even though the schedules now are set for the PGA Tour and Live, I think, things will become clear in 2025. And I think ultimately in 2026, all the players will be playing on both tours, whatever that math is, whatever that arithmetic is.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good question and a good answer there. Yeah,
well, it's true, Coach. I mean, I'm telling you, President Trump is a sportsman.
Yeah,
and, his granddaughter is a heck of a golfer who's going to go, I think she's going to play at the University of Miami. She's one of the top junior golfers in the state of Florida. So, and Doral used to be the first stop on the Florida swing. And obviously when he started running for president and got involved in politics, the PGA Tour took that away. And now it's in Mexico. They play in Mexico, California, Mexico, then they go to Florida. And I think ultimately, the PGA Tour will probably return.
So you said to Barry that the LIV is going to be under the PGA? God, boy,
yes.
And
yeah, it'll be governed by the PGA Tour, so everybody will have the same rules. And Coach, here's the bottom line: it's about world ranking points. Yeah. And if the PGA Tour sanctions a Live event, then suddenly those events now get world ranking points. Okay. And that's what these guys want, because anybody in the top 30 of the world rankings, you don't have to qualify for any of the major championships.
Yeah, that's a good question. That kind of puts it all in one perspective. That puts it all together.
I.e., these guys are about to get rich, Doug. Richer.
More rich.
Yeah,
yes.
richer.
And listen, it's the top guys, too. Like yesterday in Mexico, Austin Eckroat, a PGA Tour rookie, won for the second time. Yeah. Yeah, and he won for the second time. So, he hasn't moved into that upper echelon yet. But he's a young guy who lives in Edmond, Oklahoma, and he now has 2 wins in 2024. Nick Dunlap, 2 wins. So, when you start winning twice in a season, that's a big deal. And so that's a big one for him. Patton Kizzire, by the way, Trey Mullinax missed the cut in Mexico, and they'll be both going to Bermuda. And I should say this, guys, in golf, the Charles Schwab Cup is the Champions Tour deal. And Bernard Langer, Stephen Alker won the points race, the Charles Schwab Cup, and he gets millions of dollars as a bonus. But the actual tournament, Bernard Langer won it out in Arizona. This guy is 67 years old, and he won on the Champions Tour for the 47th time. I mean, think about that. And he's coming off, he popped his Achilles playing pickleball back in February. So nobody makes a big deal out of Bernard Langer. I mean, he won the Masters twice and was a Ryder Cup star, et cetera. He's a Hall of Famer. But, I mean, I think when you're 67 years old, and, oh, by the way, he shot 66 to win it. He beat his age by 1 shot.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
He's played a long time. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. To still be playing at that level when you're 67 is really a testament to, good genes, obviously, but just the fact, I mean, he doesn't have to play as much. I mean, he's a man very, very wealthy, and he's had a lot of great accomplishments, but he's still out there grinding and still out there beating guys. I mean, these guys who turn 50 should be winning, right? And yet he's still beating them at 67 years of age.
All right, Doug, do you find, because I know you like to study the trends in college football, and you always give us all these great stats that sound good. But do you find this year, maybe with the parity, or I mean, Alabama was a 2.5-point favorite and they won huge. Ole Miss was underdog. They won pretty darn big. It's harder than ever to pick games this year to kind of know what's going to happen week to week, or is it easier in your opinion?
No. It's more difficult. Even though, now as things get late in the season, whenever Ohio State plays Purdue or Ohio State plays one of these, underlings in the Big Ten, usually they cover. But I think to answer your question, yes. And in a league like the Southeastern Conference and the Big 12, I mean, it is really, really difficult. And most of those guys in Vegas will tell you the same thing. I've had guys on my podcast who tell me it's more difficult now than it's ever been because of parity, obviously. And you just, I mean, these teams, SMU is now a factor to make the playoffs. SMU, when was the last time we talked about them? It's exciting. Boise State.
Did you know I won this week?
Did you win a game, Coach?
He did.
Yeah.
He had Army minus 5.5.
Dude, that's a good bet, man. Army's been plugging along now. They're going to play Notre Dame here in a couple of weeks, but for now, man, Army is really, really. They're fun.
He got it. He got it. It was 5.5, and it went down to 4.
I'm a genius.
And so, but they still. All right. Well, speaking of bets, Doug, let's go to your picks for the week. Yeah. You're currently, going into this week, you're 15, 14, and 1. So
all right.
That's probably about breaking even by the time you've lost the juice. So you said Indiana versus Michigan. Take Indiana minus the 14. Now, Indiana
I almost did that.
Indiana did win, but they didn't win by 14, so that will be a loss.
And they were up 14-3.
Yeah.
They were up 14-3, and then
I almost took that too, Doug. I didn't. I got away from it.
Your other pick, Arizona State, took on Central Florida. The line was 4. You said take Arizona State, 35-31. So that was a push. So I don't know what we do for the sound for push. Do you have anything like kissing your sister that we can do? You get to kiss your sister. There's no thrill in it. You just kind of kiss her and move on. All right, and then so we tied. So we're 1-1. Then the night game, Alabama. You said take Alabama minus the 2.5. I was worried about that for you. I'll be honest with you, man. Whoever that Alabama was that showed up, they need to show up the rest of the season. That wasn't even close. Alabama covered it easy, so give them a victory there. All right, so that runs that record now to, let's see here, 16, 15, and 2, Doug. 16, 15. How you feeling? How you feeling?
I feel good. You know, the Arizona State game, by the way, even though, you know, we make our picks on Monday, by game time, it was 2.5. So I'm just saying that technically is a W. But, hey, for our purposes, I'm with you. I'm still above water. I feel good. And this week when I go 3-0, guys, I'm way above water.
All right.
So all good.
You've gone 3-0 about one time in 3 years.
You better call me if you're going 3-0.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see where you're going this week, Doug.
All right, here we go. SMU, the aforementioned Mustangs, at home against Boston College. Again, SMU is the only undefeated ACC team, and their quarterback Kevin Jennings, by the way, you know, they lost to early in the season, and then he becomes the starter, and he's 7-0. This kid, Kevin Jennings, he's really good. But let me tell you, Bill O'Brien's team, guys, only 2 games this season has there been a margin of more than 10 points in a Boston College game. They keep everything close. In fact, I think this is a very safe bet. Very safe to take BC, Bill O'Brien, and the 15 points.
No, Doug, no. 17.
Oh, there you go. Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. Oh.
So it works for your ways. So you wanted 15, and it's currently 17. So we're giving you 17 because we like you.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that.
Yeah. 7.
Yeah. My goodness. 7. And SMU, by the way, if you look at their scores, they win a lot of high-scoring games, but they never blow anybody out.
Yeah, if you liked it at 15, what does that say about you? Love it at 17, right?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, the hair's going up on the back of my neck right now. Think about that.
All right, we got that one locked in. All right, what's your second one?
Well, I'm a little worried about Georgia offensively. Man, are they struggling, and the quarterback Carson Beck just continues to turn it over. But they're at home. They're favored over Tennessee.
By 9.
The thing about
Georgia
by
9. Yes.
And the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, you know, he left right before halftime of that game last Saturday and never returned, never even came back to the sidelines. Josh Heupel says it's nothing to worry about. It was precautionary, but we don't know the status of the quarterback. So, and I just can't believe Georgia is going to lose again. Their third SEC game. I think Kirby's going to have them all riled up. And even though Georgia's not great offensively, and for some reason they can't run the football, I got Georgia winning at home, creating turnovers, and covering that 9-point spread.
Wow.
I like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, Georgia -9 between the hedges. All right, over to Tennessee. So, all right, last one, Doug.
All right, now, you're going to love this one, guys. Virginia, the mighty Cavaliers. In fact, I heard a radio call the other day. I love the radio guy. Hey, the Who's in for a touchdown. The Wahoos, I love it. They're playing some good football. They beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh got off to that great start. They've now lost 2 in a row, but Virginia beat them 24-19. Notre Dame had the cakewalk against FSU, which is really kind of a sad story there in Tallahassee. Notre Dame has to beat Virginia, Army, and USC to make the playoffs. I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to go unscathed. I like Virginia getting 22.5
at
Notre Dame on Saturday.
No, Doug.
Tell me.
23.5.
Yes. Man, I love it when the plan comes together, guys.
Virginia plays who?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, get 23.5.
You're going to take the 23.5.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing you a good favor, Doug. I'm getting you extra points.
Well, and I'm writing all this down. I got my pencil out right now. And this is all good stuff, Barry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. That game's on NBC at 2:30. So the Wahoos, but you said they're not going to win out. Who's going to beat Notre Dame, Doug?
Well, I think USC last game of the year. And yeah, Notre Dame has really had a relatively easy schedule. It really is amazing that they lost Northern Illinois, who, by the way, has lost 3 games since. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Virginia is not to be overlooked on Saturday. And listen, they're 4-4. Virginia had an abysmal year last season, so they're on the uptick as well. So we talk all about parity in college football. And, you know, there's a team like Virginia that's just playing better, got some guys in, some new guys in, and So it's
not a
foregone conclusion.
They're 5-4. They're not 4-4. They're 5-4. Yeah, you're off on your numbers today. Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, a couple of things. Kenny Dillingham, last week, Barry, you asked me about the coach at Arizona State. 34 years old, coached with Gus Malzahn at Auburn when Bo Nix was the quarterback. Last time Auburn won 9 games. And now he's at Arizona State. I mean, if not for our guy at Indiana, this guy would be the national coach of the year, Kenny Dillingham. So Arizona State's a big story. And, oh, by the way, guys, I got to throw this in. The state of Florida, and you might have already talked about it, the 5 FBS programs, or the 7 FBS programs, the 5 FCS programs, and the 2 NFL teams all lost this weekend. First time in history the state of Florida is 0-11 on a weekend, and the only saving grace potentially is tonight the Dolphins against the Rams. If the Dolphins lose, then the state of Florida, for the first time ever, goes over in college football and the NFL in the same weekend.
I thought that's where all the football players were, in Florida.
Well, apparently they're playing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, who's going to be in the SEC championship game?
Right now I'm leaning to Texas and Alabama. I think it'll be a Texas-Alabama SEC championship when all is said and done and all the dust settles. And I do believe, I think Alabama will hold the tiebreaker over Georgia. Now, obviously, Tennessee beat Alabama, but Tennessee...
Alabama, but I hope it's not Texas.
Well, the one tough team Texas played was Georgia at home, and they got buried. So I don't know. I think things have just worked out. The stars have been aligned for Sark and Texas up to this point. Obviously, Florida with a third-string quarterback and a ton of injury, that was really a poor performance on Saturday. But they weren't full force.
All right, Doug, tell everybody about MD Wellness and Aesthetics before we let you go.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys. 205-582-9216, MD Wellness and Aesthetics. And Susan Brignett, the owner, she's starting to have her Thanksgiving/Christmas specials. And I know a lot of people like to go in and do some things as we head into Thanksgiving and Christmas and look better. The facials, the Botox, the laser treatments, et cetera, and so many other things, hair care, weight loss. They all do it under doctor's care. Dr. Dawn Mancuso is the MD. And again, it's 205-582-9216, MDWellnessandAesthetics.com.
All right, big week for you. 16-15-2. I hope you'll be 19-15-2 this time next week.
I'm confident.
Thank you, sir.
I'm confident, fellas. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. All right, Dad, let's talk about Bryant Bank, and we'll get to break.
Bryant Bank, outstanding bank in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, Columbiana. Throughout the state of Alabama is your bank because it's got, generally speaking, the same zip code, the same area code. The banker and all the employees there will know you when you walk in, and they'll do everything possible to make your banking experience a very good experience. They will do everything to help you if you want to bank online. If you want to be darn sure that your money is safe, and you do, and you want to open up 2 accounts rather than 1, then they'll be darn sure that business account is looked after in that personal account as well. So go by Bryant Bank. Tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room. I think that you'll be pleased with what they do for you. The good thing about it is they'll know you. If you have ever been in there before, the second time you go in there, they'll know you by your first name. Bryant Bank, they're great people.
All right, when we get back, as I promised, we're going to hear from the pilots that were flying the plane. I think Chase has them talking 2 different times there, so we'll hear what the pilots had to say about what was going on the flight to Houston, that they had to turn the plane around. That's embarrassing. This is Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, moving with a purpose for your Monday morning travels. And we have a small mishap in Mimosa Highlands on Highway 69 northbound before Mimosa Park Road. Watch out for supposedly debris in that left lane. Absolutely no heavy delays. Folks are just pretty much tapping on the brakes to maneuver around.
And when you call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few lingering showers this morning. Otherwise, the sky becoming partially sunny today, the high 76. Mostly clear tonight, the low 64. Tomorrow, a dry day with a good supply of sunshine, the afternoon high at 73. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 66 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, Chase, let's hear Auburn was getting on a plane, or got on the plane, was headed to Houston, had a problem on the plane. They decided they needed to turn the plane around. The pilots, obviously I didn't know this, but I guess you can get the recordings from pilots talking back to the towers there. So let's play what happened on Friday night.
Sir, 681, we'd like to return back to Auburn if that's at all possible. Quality 681, understand you don't want to go to Montgomery anymore, you want to go to Auburn? Yes, sir, that's correct. Quality 681, Roger. Flight heading 100, climb and maintain 5,000, stand by. Okay, 100 on 5,000, Quality 681. Quality 681, fair reason for the change. Well, that's where they came out of, and the fight has been contained. We've talked to the coach, and then there's a nurse on board. We've talked to them. So that's where the captain wants to go. Yes, sir. Is there any way you could coordinate with Auburn to have a sheriff or police there? Quality 681, affirmative. Thank you, sir. 681. Quality 681, just confirm that the situation is secured. Situation is secured and contained for the moment, sir.
All right, let's play the first one. That one was the second one because originally they were going to take the plane back to Montgomery. So that was him calling back saying, no, we're not going to Montgomery. We're going to Auburn. All right, play the first one, Chase.
Yes, sir. We have got an altercation on board. We'd like to declare an emergency and land. We got a bunch of basketball players fighting. The flight deck is secure. The threat level is contained for the moment. We just had police on the ground, and we had two players that got into physical altercation, clothes were ripped, and one bloody player. And Center 2681, it's kind of crazy. Will we direct Montgomery?
All right, so that was the first one. Then he decided they weren't going to go to Montgomery. They were going to take them back to Auburn, asked them to have police there. They ended up getting back, obviously letting those two players off, and then they had to send another plane to go. I guess there was blood on the plane. Bad look there, right? For
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, really bad. Got to be a suspension there for good.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Bruce Pearl, after the game, they asked, and he just said, I'm not going to get in this right now. The fact that they were able to go to Houston with all that going on and still win that basketball game is kind of remarkable, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it was. I think it was very remarkable. Auburn's a very good defensive team, and I'm not. You naturally you would say that because they're playing a very good defensive team. I think, regardless of such, I think their problems lie in their offense.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted you to hear that. All that stuff's recording. So kind of a tough deal there, but maybe they can get over that. All right, we'll take this last break and come back and wrap up the show. Listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're going to recap Alabama and LSU. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore. Hopefully we're recapping an Alabama victory. Either way, we'll take your phone calls. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee. And we'll talk to Mark Houston, all starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, moving with a purpose for your Monday morning travels. And we have a small mishap in Mimosa Highlands on Highway 69 northbound before Mimosa Park Road. Watch out for supposedly debris in that left lane. Absolutely no heavy delays. Folks are just pretty much tapping on the brakes to maneuver around it.
Gate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few lingering showers this morning. Otherwise, the sky becoming partially sunny today, the high 76. Mostly clear tonight, the low 64. Tomorrow, a dry day with a good supply of sunshine, the afternoon high at 73. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside. All right, tomorrow's show shaped up to be a good show tomorrow. A good show today. Tomorrow we'll have, obviously, Kevin Skarpinski will join us at 7:30.
I've got to run, Barry.
All right. Okay, then John Cohen will join us, athletic director at Auburn. A lot going on down there with the football program. Basketball program playing great, but kind of an embarrassing situation. It's going to have to be cleaned up there with the problem on the plane and all those particular things there. So, but we look forward to having those guys and your phone calls also tomorrow. Thank you, Chase. We appreciate Max Howell and Doug Bell. Doug Bell, pretty good information about President Trump and this LIV and this PGA Tour merger. He says that will happen now with Donald Trump as the president there. So that'll be, if you're a golf fan, that's good news, I would think. So we'll figure out how they're going to work all that out. I'm sure it's not high on the totem pole, but sounds like maybe that there'll be some progress made there. Appreciate it, Chase. You guys have a great day. Northridge Hoops tonight. First game of the season, take on a really, really, really good Pinson Valley team. So games will start at 4. Freshman boys at 4. JV boys at 5, girls at 6:15. The boys probably tip it off around 7:30. So get out and support high school basketball. Also, Alabama takes on McNeese State tonight at 6 o'clock. It's the Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.